There's currently a whopping 46 non-sunset legendary hand cannons available in Destiny 2. These range from the mundane and useless to the outright god tier. Only 7 of these are available for you to craft, however crafting one will ultimately make it a ton easier to tie down your very own personal god roll. They're also getting a huge buff to the damage they dish out on both red and orange bar enemies at the start of Season 22. But you don't need to waste your time trying to craft each and every one, so let's find out which ones you really need to get. The Austringer, originally from Season of Opulence and the beloved Menagerie activity, it was later reissued in the Season of the Haunted and subsequently made available to craft at the cost of 5 red border patterns. This is a kinetic adaptive frame 140 RPM hand cannon, and so straight out of the gate it's going to do 10% more damage than any of its energy counterparts, immediately making it more potent when combined with the upcoming buff. This has always been seen as a go-to PvP hand cannon with excellent perk combos that is perfect for dueling other guardians like Eye of the Storm or Opening Shot. However, there's an OG perk combo that's still perfect for slaying out against minions of the darkness. Outlaw and Rampage doesn't see too much fanfare these days, as Bungie has moved away from the straight up easy to activate damage perks in favour of more subclass orientated setups, but this can and will still do bits. Maxing out at a 33% damage boost at a 3-time stack of Rampage, it will allow you to tear through waves of adds, one-shotting red bars and dealing huge damage to mages. Outlaw will allow you to keep this going, as it essentially maxes out your reload speed stat for 6 seconds. Austringer is renowned for its ease of use in combat thanks to its high aim assist and excellent stat package, and it's even been proven that it'll be way easier for you to click heads with it by hitting that subscribe button. If you don't already have this, you can only currently obtain it from the gunsmith in the tower or Xur when they have it in their stock, and I've definitely seen it a couple of times recently. If you want to craft the enhanced perks, then you'll need 5 red border patterns, and so the deep sight harmonizers from the season pass will be your friends here if you're still a few patterns short. If you want the enhanced versions of these perks, you'll need to get to level 15 for Outlaw and only level 14 for Rampage, which will increase the buff durations for each perk by 1 second and 0.5 seconds respectively. Zauli's Bane is a hand cannon of all time, and it's probably one that you've totally forgotten about. This iconic D1 hand cannon from the Kingsfall raid was reprised for the returning version of that raid in Destiny 2, and it's come on leaps and bounds from what was essentially one of the most dog water weapons in Destiny 1. It's a solar adaptive frame 140 RPM hand cannon, and although it does less damage than its kinetic counterparts as previously stated, it does instead have some awesome solar 3.0 subclass synergy. Incandescent is where it's at on this, and it's one of only 2 hand cannons that can currently roll with it. Final blows apply a damage over time burning scorch effect to targets within a 4 meter radius. This starts from 30 stacks at a base level and increases to 40 with the Ember of Ashes equipped on your solar subclass, and you can boost that even further by getting the enhanced version, granting you up to 45 scorch stacks. You only need 100 stacks to trigger an ignition, which will explode that enemy and deal huge damage to nearby enemies too. It clearly is great for solar 3.0 builds, but to be honest I think you can do one better on this. Firefly is easily my favourite pick, as it counteracts the somewhat lacklustre stat package compared to the other top tier hand cannons. It'll keep you in the fight for longer due to the intrinsic reload speed boost you get from final blows with precision shots. You'll find that with Incandescent the reload is painful, something which Zauli's Bane was renowned for in Destiny 1, so Firefly amps this up big time. It also deals area effect splash damage to nearby targets, making ad cleanup just as potent as it would with Incandescent. Paired with explosive payload in the 3rd column, you'll have little to no damage fall off, and when you get the run of over origin trait active, you'll also overflow the magazine. This one's easily farmable from the free to play Kingsfall raid, with it dropping from the Golgoroth and Oryx encounters, and you can craft it to get the enhanced perks by getting 5 red border patterns for it. The enhanced perks for explosive payload and Firefly grant reload speed increases and are definitely worth leveling this up to level 17. I even did it twice. Lots of people may scoff at this next one given the popularity of the recent Last Wish raid reworks, but the Posterity rework, which came only a few seasons back, is absolutely top tier and potentially the best hand cannon on this list. This Deepstone Crypt raid arc energy precision frame 180 RPM hand cannon has everything going for it. First off, it's super easy to use, especially with the combination of the perfect vertical recoil direction, excellent stability out of the gate, and the full auto setting making mowing through waves of enemies a piece of cake. but it's the perk pool that is absolutely worth diving into this Beyond Light era raid to try tie down this god roll which is absolutely slept on. Let's not beat around the bush because we're all here for Vault Shot, and as it stands it is the only arc weapon that can get this endgame perk in the third column. It is an immense perk and will clear out waves of ads in an instant. By reloading after a kill you'll be granted Vault Shot, which will apply jolt to the next target you hit with Posterity. Continuous damage will apply both a damage over time lightning burst effect and an area effect chain lightning damage to nearby combatants. This jolt damage even scales upwards with weapon damage buffs, global debuffs and combatant rank modifiers, and will technically be even higher next season with the hand cannon buffs. Fortunately, Posterity has tons of damage boosting perks available in the final column, but there's none more potent to combine with Vault Shot than Frenzy. This grants a 15% damage increase as well as massively boosting the handling and reload speed of the weapon. It basically turns the sluggish 180 archetype into a rapid fire monster able to dish out jolting aftershocks all the time, and on top of that it'll grant you a small amount of ability energy per hit from the Bray Inheritance origin trait, and yes, even Vault Shot's chain lightning counts towards this. You can only get this legendary hand cannon from the descent encounter in the Deepstone Crypt raid, but once you've got one you can farm it from the raid cache at the end of the raid using the Spoils of Conquest. The enhanced versions will boost the duration of these perks, which isn't obviously required. If you're going to show off your love for Posterity, then you might as well level it up once you get the 5 red border patterns. Yet all of these pale in comparison to what is easily the best legendary hand cannon ever seen in Destiny 2. The Fatebringer Time Lost isn't craftable, but nothing can hold a candle to it. It's an absolute stat monster and is clearly the benchmark for all other hand cannons since its introduction. It's a 140 RPM adaptive frame hand cannon, and so much like Austringer, it'll instantly dish out 10% more damage than any energy hand cannon. But unlike Austringer, it has the perfect perk combos to make taking this into endgame content a breeze, and that's before the upcoming buff. With perks like Rewind Rounds, Fresh, Adrenaline Junkie, Firefly and Kill Clip, it's hard to even find a bad roll to be honest, but if you want the creme de la creme, you'll need to get one with Explosive Payload and Frenzy. Fortunately, the Time Lost version automatically drops with Explosive Payload and Firefly in the final 2 columns, so hunting for a Frenzy version shouldn't be too difficult, and this is why I've recommended the Time Lost version. Not only that, but you can then apply the Adept Big One spec mod, which does more damage to mages, mini bosses and bosses, and packs a tremendous punch when stacked with the always on Frenzy once you get it rolling. The Fatebringer Time Lost can be obtained from the master version of the Vault of Glass raid, and once it is the featured raid, I highly recommend farming the Templar boss encounter. This master version is no match for the immense boss melting builds available these days, making this reprised Destiny 1 raid classic icon a must have hand cannon. Now that you're all ready for the hand cannon meta, get your best ad clearing builds ready too by watching this video next.